Today, we're going to be talking about the latest injury updates around the Washington Commanders and how this is going to impact them over the final 6 games of the season. And so before we go ahead and we jump into it, I first want to remind you to hit that like, hit that subscribe, and follow the channel as we talk nothing but Washington Commanders football daily. And so with that being said, let's go ahead and let's jump into it as we are talking about the latest injury updates around the Washington Commanders. And so starting with the offensive side of the ball, the first update that we get is around Noah Brown. And so it looks like that Noah Brown has his 21-day window to return from the IR open back up. And so that is a good thing to see here because Noah Brown has been out for quite some time. He's been dealing with the knee injury and then also to the groin injury, which sent him to the IR. And so the fact that the Commanders have opened up that window and he is trending towards returning, that is a good sign here. Next, two more updates that we get around the offense. This comes from Coach Dan Quinn in his presser. And so if you want to see this, you can head over to the Commanders YouTube page. And so just paraphrasing this. And so starting with Jaden Daniels, it looks like that Jaden Daniels returned to practice. Now he's not cleared for contact and he's not going to play this weekend, but he was back on the practice field. And so that is a good sign, knowing that Jaden Daniels is back out there on the practice field. Next, we get some good news here around Terry McLaurin as well. Sounds like that he was back on the practice field. Coach Dan Quinn said that he was excited for him. And he said that he will need to see some more from him this week. He did acknowledge that they weren't going full speed, in the first practice there. But, it looks like that it's trending in the right direction, for Terry McLaurin. And so, now just really reflecting in what this means over the final 6 games for this offense. And so the first thing that it really means is that if you're bringing back Jaden Daniels, which that has been, I think a debate. Do you bring him back? Do you sit him? I've been in the camp of not bringing him back, especially if you're in a situation where you're not headed towards the playoffs, just really protecting your franchise quarterback. But I've also, acknowledged the fact that the team needs to get back to the standards of playing like Commanders football. Like you want to get back to playing some good football. And that means going out there and competing at a high level. And so that means if your main pieces are out there, then, you want to go out there and you want to put together some good football. And so if you're going to lose the game, fine, but you want it to be, just where you're not beating yourself out there. And so I understand, look, you want to get these guys reps and stuff like that. And so if you're going to put Jaden Daniels out there, then you want to put him out there with some players that really should have been with him the full year. And I think that that's probably one of the bigger issues here with this team is that really with the injuries and things like that, and just really the fact that the team just hasn't been out there at the same time, that's really hurt this team, especially when it came down to the wide receivers, because you had the situation with Terry McLaurin and the contract, and he missed some time. And then with Noah Brown, I believe he got hurt at the end of OTAs there. And so it's just thrown off the timing and the rhythm. And so, I think over the final 6 games, you will get a chance to hopefully see these guys go to work. And we really get a chance to see what this offense could possibly be. Now, it is going to be, a tough go down these last 6 games of the schedule here with the Washington Commanders, starting off with the Denver Broncos, and then you've got the Eagles, Cowboys, Vikings, Eagles again. Like, it's going to be a challenge there down the stretch, but I do think that, look, this team certainly has a great chance in those games if you have your main pieces there on offense. And so I think that that is really the significance over the final 6 games there. And then next, when you're looking at the defense, some of the updates that we get here is around Will Harris. And so it looks like that Will Harris is very much trending in the right direction. And so, one of the things that happened with Will Harris, and this is back in Madrid where they opened up the 21-day window for him, and then also to Drake Jackson as well. Like he said that Will Harris, man, he's wanting to get back out there. He's moving very well and everything else. And so I think that that is going to be huge for the defense, along with Drake Jackson. And so Drake Jackson, I've talked about him a little bit. He's been injured, and he showed some flashes there with the San Francisco 49ers when he initially got drafted. He had 3 sacks in his first 2 seasons, and he had an INT, but he dealt with a knee injury. And so the fact that he's coming back to this team, I think that he's in the same situation as a Traylon Burks, in my opinion, because Traylon Burks, a young player, he's stepping into a situation where the wide receivers haven't been there. I think he showed enough flashes there before he had to get the surgery on his finger there. And I just think that he's ran with that opportunity. And I think that Drake Jackson has a chance to run with this opportunity because defensively, especially on the defensive end, this team has been hit hard. And so if he can come in and really show something here, I think that he could really earn himself a good role, especially heading into next season. And with Will Harris, look, I think that really, when it comes down to Dan Quinn and just the defense, I think that one of the bigger pieces in his defense is the safety position. And so, Will Harris, his ability to go out there and make plays in the secondary as far as coming up and giving run support, and then also to helping out with the over-the-top communication and coverage there, I think is going to be huge for the back line of this defense, because one of the things that's talked about with him is he's a terrific communicator. And so I'm curious to see, what he does with Dan Quinn now taking over, because if this defense shows exactly what it showed against the Miami Dolphins, and I get it with the Miami Dolphins because I said this too, that the Dolphins have been very much up and down, but you had the fourth down stands in those games. You really played good. You only gave up 16 points. I think adding a guy like Will Harris is going to help that defense down the stretch. And so really just finding out if this defense can lock in over the last 6 games, I think that is probably going to be the significance here of getting back, these players at this specific time as the season kind of winds down. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments here what you guys are thinking. Once again, Jaden Daniels is back at practice along with Terry McLaurin. It looks like that Noah Brown, his 21-day window has been opened up, and so he's back there as well. And again, if you're going to bring back your franchise quarterback, you might as well bring him back here with, some of the main pieces of the offense. And let's see if it really lifts the ceiling of the offense, because I do think that, look, that's going to open it back up for the running game. Even though it's a top 10 unit here in the National Football League, I would expect for it to open up some more, just with the fact that Jaden Daniels will be able to get the football down the field here to, Terry McLaurin, and then also to Noah Brown to go along with Deebo Samuel and Zach Ertz, right? Like the unit is back together. So I'm curious to see what it's going to look like there. And then defensively, I know it's not everything getting back to the defense, like they have lost tons of players and stuff like that. But, I think that it's going to be interesting, especially with what Dan Quinn was able to put together against the Miami Dolphins, really keeping a lot of their playmakers out of it. And then also too, getting those 4-down stands and stuff like that. Like, you want to see that type of intensity translate. I definitely think a guy like Drake Jackson will help your bottom line here if he can give you anything up front as far as helping with the run game and hopefully getting back to the quarterback, which will, just give you some pressure up front, which now you could maybe get some turnovers in the secondary. Will Harris, a terrific communicator. They continue to talk about just what he meant to this defense and how tough it was for him to go down. And so for him to come back at the time that Dan Quinn takes over, let's see if this defense is going to tighten up down the stretch of the season. And so anyway, you guys let me know in the comments what you guys are thinking. And as we always say, look, go Commanders, and I will see you guys on the next one. All right, peace.